Hello guys, it has been I think 2 weeks since I uploaded a new YouTube video for you guys, and I just wanted to say my sincerest apologies. I have been a little bit, I'm not gonna say busy because that would be a lie. I haven't been busy, I just been going through a lot of different things. One of them being, for starters, I have a tampon that got lost inside of my vagina, and these doctors cannot seem to get it out. And it's not that they can't get it out, it's just that you're telling me it's not in there, and I know that it's in there. So it's been like I've had to go to 4 different hospitals, 2 urgent cares, and actually like a doctor's visit with my primary care doctor, and then another ER. So it's just been like a big thing, and it took like a mental thing. I just closed out of my window. It took like a mental toll on me because I am trying not to Google toxic shock syndrome, like symptoms and all that, because I don't want my brain to be having those symptoms. But I had a seizure like 2 days ago, and it just so happens that seizures are a side effect of toxic shock syndrome. So it's like I don't know if I had a seizure because, you know, I already have seizures, or it has something to do with that. But so today's video, you guys are all aware, not today, but this month is April, and April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So today I just wanted to share some things with you, and yeah, I just first want to start off by saying, to anyone who has been a survivor, I don't want to use the word victim because you're a survivor. Yes, you're a victim, but let's use survivor. If you're a survivor from sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual like trauma, anything like that, I just want to say my sincerest condolences to you, to the trauma you have to go through, the flashbacks you have to go through, the panic you go through from dealing with that. And I hope that you have a wonderful healing journey and that you're able to get through it. I am going to be 25 this year, and I am still healing from childhood abuse that happened to me. So, okay. So the first thing I want to share with you is I'm in a group therapy for survivors of sexual abuse or sexual assault. I've been going for a few sessions now. It has been amazing. I've always been interested in something like that. They have groups for addicts, drug addicts, people who survive like domestic relationships and things like that. And I've never been able to find a support group for people who survive sexual assault. So when I found this group, I was very happy, and I was like very, happy to join. But I'm going to put some classical music on just to kind of ease my anxiety right now. But I'm going to read something to you guys that I saw in my group that really stood out to me, and I took a picture of it so I can tell you guys in this video. And I don't have like 2 phones, so I can't just be like, so I'm gonna read it. What is consent? When it comes to sex, silence is not consent. Flirting is not consent. Being in a relationship is not consent. Consent for one thing is not consent for everything. Dressing in sexy clothing is not consent. Having had sex before is not consent now. Being too drunk or high to say no is not consent. Being passed out is not consent. If a person is underage, it is not consent. Being afraid to say no is not consent. Being afraid to say no is not consent. Making out is not consent. Going in a bedroom is not consent. Maybe is not consent. No is not consent. Sexual activity without consent is sexual assault. Consent is voluntary, conscious, and mutual agreement to engage in sexual activity. Only yes is consent. Stop, ask, listen, get consent. And I just want to go over that because like when I read this the first couple of times, like it really, kind of touched me, because I've been in situations, and I'm not talking about like my childhood sexual abuse, I'm talking about like teenage and adult life, where guys have kind of like made me feel shitty for not wanting to have sex with them. And it kind of made me feel like this weird position, like, okay, if I don't give them sex, like I'm gonna, like, they're gonna force me, kind of thing. So I've been in a few situations like that, and I'm not the only one. It's scary. Like, for example, I'm just gonna give a scenario that happened to me in the past, and I was actually a teenager. Yeah, I was a teenager. I think I was 17, but the guy was 19. And yeah, you know, he was like, well, you know, I bought you food, bought you, you know, something to eat, bought you something to drink. And he's like, you're not gonna give me head. And I wasn't thinking, you know, well, okay, he's gonna take me on a date, and he's gonna expect something from me. So I wasn't thinking in that way. And I was like, no, like I thought this was a date. And he's like, well, no, like that's messed up. Like you're just gonna have me buy you this, buy you that. I'm not getting anything in return. And I felt very like, I started to panic, because I was like, well, first of all, I'm underage. Second of all, like this man is like gonna overpower me. So I was like, what do I do? And he's like, well, can you at least do something for me? Like, can you at least like give me head? And I hate when guys do that. It's like it's so annoying, because it's like, excuse me, it's like, why as women, why as a man do you expect, just because you take a person on a date and this and that, and you buy this, you pay for this, why do you expect something in return? And then they put that pressure on a person. So in that situation, I kind of was just like, yeah, okay, we can do this. But I hurried up and dipped out. Like I was terrified. Anyways, so I just wanted to go ahead and read that to you guys. The next thing I want to share with you guys is this little project I worked on in my group therapy. And actually, it was very interesting for me to do this. So it was called like a neurogeological art project. I don't know if I said that right, but it looks like this. And it was supposed to be emotional triggers. So basically, without looking, we start anywhere on the paper, draw one solid line. So this is my start line, and this was my finish line. So I started here, and it just kind of like swiveled everywhere, and like basically where the lines are touching, like it's darkened where the lines are touching. That's kind of like how your brain is like, I don't really know how the therapist explained it, because I'm probably explaining it wrong, but basically where the lines are darkened, that's like how your brain is just kind of like intertwining, like with your thoughts and all that. So we did emotional triggers. So for my emotional triggers, I did things that trigger me, such as feelings and emotions. So I put feeling unsafe, rejection, words, yelling, taste, smells, being around too many men, fear, flashbacks, places, and paranoia. Excuse me. And like, I know that's kind of like a lot of things, because it's like, how can you avoid all of those things? But it's like, you can't, because we live in a big world. So like, this goes hand in hand. So when I say being around too many men, panic and fear starts happening. Because, for example, I'm just gonna give you guys an example. I was in the laundromat a few weeks ago, and my laundromat is very small. It's super small, and there's really not a lot of walking space. So like, I was putting my stuff in, and a guy comes in, and I panicked, because I'm just like, oh my god, this is too much, I can't take it. Oh my god, what if this happens, what if that happens? So I panicked, and I started getting very fearful. I started getting all these paranoid thoughts. So that's me being triggered. there's a man too close to me, I need to get the hell out of here. That's me being triggered right there. And then with flashbacks, I still get a lot of flashbacks to this day. Like, that goes hand in hand with places, tastes, and smells, because, like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense to any other survivors out there, but for taste and smells, like taste, sometimes I get these weird tastes in my mouth, and it reminds me of a taste from my childhood, and it immediately brings me back to that moment as a child when the abuse was happening. So it takes me back to, and I have a flashback. And it's the same thing for smells. I can't do it. And then it's the same thing for places. If I happen to go around a place where I grew up at or something like that, it brings me back to have a flashback. So yeah, this was like a nice project for me to do. It made me really like, okay, let me think about this, because I've never actually on paper, what are my triggers? What makes me feel triggered? I've never done that before. So this was a really nice way, to do that, and I thought it was really nice. So another thing that I want to share with you guys, I've been working, I don't know how to word it, but I'm just gonna say it. I've been working on a book. I've been working on it for a really long time, but I've never actually put the chapters together piece by piece. And now I'm finally at that stage of putting the chapters together. So with that being said, that's been very emotional for me, and doing that has also been very triggering for me, because it's like, whoa, like how did this happen to me? How did I go through this? Like, did this really happen? Like, oh my God, like, how did I even survive this? So that's been really hard for me, you know, doing this book. And it has been, that's another reason why I haven't been posting, because focusing on my book and trying to get all the chapters piece by piece, it has really been, you know, a lot emotionally. Like, it has been heavy. Maybe one day in one of my videos I can share like a chapter with you guys, but it is like, it's kind of heavy. But I think it's coming along pretty great. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, I just wanted to share mainly that with you guys. Hold on, let me go back, because there was something else that I wanted to share. It was like a poem that I wrote for this video that I wanted to share. Give me 1 second. Okay, so in therapy we talk about, instead of, you know, all the negative talk, work on self-talk, self-positive talk. One thing about me that I struggle with a lot because of my abuse, not only was I sexually abused, I was verbally, mentally, physically abused. And one thing that my abuser did was verbally abuse me, telling me, you're stupid, you're idiot, you're never going to be anything in life, etc., yada yada. So I set these unrealistic expectations for myself, like, oh, by this age I have to have this done, or not, or if I don't, I'm going to be a big loser. And I've been like that since a very young age, like, because of how these things were told to me. I'm like, no, I can't be a failure, I can't do this, or these person's words are going to come true. So I worked on this small little poem. I am beautiful inside and out with all my imperfections. I am powerful beyond measure. I have achieved greatness when I was told I would achieve nothing. I am smart although I was put down countless times. I am brave, bold, and courageous. I am a survivor of various tragedies. His cruel words no longer have shackles on my soul. I am all these wonderful things and so much more. And just like doing that little poem, like the negative self-talk and the positive self-talk is up here. And like sometimes we don't realize like how bad the negative talk that we're doing to ourselves, because it's like we're trying so hard to achieve all these things, but sometimes, like I do this to myself a lot, what is that called? I don't give myself enough credit for a lot of things. So this poem for me was well needed. I gave myself a huge pat on the back. So that was one poem. And I kind of want to do a few videos this month because it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And, you know, everybody deserves to get heard, because, you know, a lot of women and men, they don't get their stories heard. And a lot of these perpetrators go free. So I feel like this is all the time should be our time to share our stories. Okay, this poem is called Rainy Day. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I think, because I live in Cali, so 2 weeks ago the weather was horrible. It was raining. I don't like the rain. I'm just gonna be honest, that's another trigger for me, and it has a bad effect on my mental health, because when I was raped, it was raining. So it really bothers me. I don't like it. I try to distract myself as much as possible to not get my mental health just to be in like, oh my God, like I try to do what I can. So this poem is called Rainy Day. I felt happy inside and out, yet I felt sad, overwhelmed and angry. Some days are better than other days. Some days are just terrible. Rainy days bring back the day to when I was raped, when I screamed and no one heard because the thunder was roaring outside. No one heard my cries for help. I struggle on these days. Although I know I am not alone, it is still hurtful for me on these days. Yeah, so normally when I have days like that, I come on my laptop and I go to my Word doc and I type my feelings out. And that's actually like one of my other goals, like obviously my book, and then I want to come up with like a book with all my poems as well. But I'm like, would somebody really read that? And I'm like, I'm sure somebody would, because I have a book by I have like a few poetry books and I love them, so I'm so sure somebody would. Okay, here's another here's another poem I wrote about sexual abuse. My body has been taken advantage of. I have been taken advantage of. My weakness has been taken advantage of. My kindness has been taken advantage of. None of that compares to how my innocence was stolen from me. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop the video right here. I think my next video will be me sharing some of my sexual assault experiences with you guys, because I did that on here a few years ago, and it was like a longer video, but I think I will be sharing some of my experiences with you guys, or maybe even read. I think what will be better, we'll read one chapter of my book that kind of describes it more in detail. So I'm not really sure what I will want to do. I also am going to be uploading a video on here maybe later this week or next week about drug addiction. So more to come. I just wanted to upload this video because it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and everybody's story deserves to be heard. So yeah, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.